again going to be on the chopping block. They had the first loss of Rip, obviously, towards Mexi there, and Mexi's the one. The man's on the tear, and he's already found another. Swiftly dealt with, but K-Mine did get knocked potentially either by a pre-nade or another issue. He's on the outside of the building, so he's safe for now. I don't see anyone trying to flush him. And now Blazer down to 2 here, Rich. You got Lazar and Lipson to hold on.
It's a matter of, and I was about to say, it is a matter of holding on, and that's all they're going to try and do, work together in tandem to maybe get a knock onto 2 to Liquid, then force the situation inside the house. Nades, lethal, nothing on Lazar, didn't quite catch it on Lipson, so he can't be throwing them in there. If they had the nades to attack this from a lethal stance, then maybe they could get something done. With the smokes down as well, you've only got 2 players standing. You're not going to push this openly. There's just no need. Mexi can hold downstairs. Jimbo looking outside the window. A little bit of a warning shot will come through. Keep them at bay while K-Mine's back on his toes, which he is indeed. Inside the house, and the health will pop up soon. As with the 4 times in the minute, and again, that's all you can really do. Try and attack them at distance. They're not going to come to you. There's absolutely no reason why Liquid should be pushing this. Unless they've got nades and you just want to bombard the house and clear them out completely, then that's fair play. But you won't go running in stupidly because you don't want to lose a player. Even if you can just go for, you know, the insta-flush. Like, yeah, it's doable, but it's whether or not Lazar comes in to steal one of those trades. I think that's in the back of these players' minds. It's still always that possibility that you could lose one for no reason.
They want to go.
I mean, they've committed every utility to it, so they might as well have a crack at it, right?
I don't blame him because you don't want to share these compounds. And when Mexi's having a tear of a game, you're going to have to just lean into it and let him go. With the barrel meta, you can play a little bit more towards this. Obviously, you're seeing Mexi there with the M4 still, but Jeems did have the barrel right beside him. And you can trade in effectively in, well, that was a 4v2 push, and a 4v1, because they'd only pushed the 1 player. Now, again, risk-reward. That compound, very strong. The high reward there for quite the high risk, but you did have favorable numbers. Elsewhere on the map, though, FaZe getting close by to Northern Lights, who already lost out on a player very early on. A little unfortunate for them, as I think it was Tornado Energy that confirmed the kill, but a clean slate for FaZe as well. This is uncharacteristic. We've seen FaZe struggling a little bit in these moments, but FuzzFace does go down. Gustav's there. Barrel by the side, looking ready to rumble. Spyro's got to be careful to try and do the damage in the smartest way he can, but he's got so much attention. Unity are wanting in on this as well.
Oh, that head's inside. Oh, what do you do for this one? Sit down, sit on it, job done. Uber, insta confirmation onto Northern Lights, and a team that we're looking forward to seeing in this competition thus far. That's not a good start for it going out early. Gemty onto Ivers as well. Red line, unfortunately, meeting the blue line, and it's going to be held back by Omicron. Gemty fans do have the hillside to get some ground on this one. Lazar's all flash banged up, and for Liquid, it's a nice clean sweep. Now, I was suggesting that maybe they're not even go for that, but maybe I underestimated truly how much utility they had. You could see the flashbangs with the arms up in the air. They probably did the exact same for the player that was directly next to him on Lipson. Miraku will fall by his own teammate, unfortunately. That's rather unfortunate, but a big push comes out of TSM in the kill feed, and all of a sudden, we see GF leaving the competition here on the server for this match now. Up, BSD, can you get the health off? No, we cannot. He'll fall, unfortunately. He's just trying to get away from this one. The Istanbul Wildcats, they do have a bit of a walk to do, and unfortunately, WP is directly in front of them.
So far, the box has been checked for FaZe and Liquid, both taking pretty risky fights against decent teams. You'd argue that Northern Lights was probably the better opponent there. They've done well to keep that clean. Now, on the other side of things, you're looking at the outskirts, the underdogs. You've got the Wildcats with potential. These sort of, teams that can be a huge threat. I think the Wildcats definitely cost a lot of teams a lot of points. They were fragging out hard. Now, the Penguins down the southeast being held back by Ents, but it's not just Ents looking over that way. That's also Liquid. Some of the traces coming through slightly further up on the screen are from the likes of Mexi, who is having a belting game.
Yeah, he's not been afraid to do much, has he? Just, even when he's a lone-man band, he'll still manage to scrape them up there into the top areas of the leaderboards and the big points. Individually, the man is a bit of a monster. But again, it was those scenarios where we look towards Liquid and we just think, what could have happened with 1 or 2 more players standing? What could have happened if you've had a bit of a team here? It's okay, Mexi getting to that point for them. But having support and being able to helping during those rougher latter stages of the game against teams, there's signs of life from that roster, and I still don't doubt them how they're going to do in this competition as a whole. Ents is an interesting one that we just keep putting a lot of pressure on them. We know what they're capable of as individuals, but even we said before, like, we can only keep saying that for so long. Wookie Bookie does go on to Tixu with the initial nade, so the opener's there, squeaking Rust and Mar. Whether they come to the defense will be a different question. I would suggest not, given where the blue is. The rest of them just trying to run away from this one with the vehicles in front of them. The smokes will go down, but cleared from the back lines. Not keeping a track on this one. It comes down to Rustam Man to try and hold them off.
I think my allowance for Ents is done. I still love the guys. I think they're some of my favorite people in the scene. Like, legitimately, they are brilliant human beings, but are they performing up to the reputation we give them? No. So I think for me, this tournament, surprise me, bring it back, sure. Going down sub 10 place, not what I'm after here. Let's look at the current positioning. So the north side's pretty locked out. You got Na'Vi, the Wildcats, and Tornado Energy all battling, as you can see on your screens. The west, phase 1 out cleanly against the Northern Lights, so they control the west side, and you know, a good compound to be in, good spread and split with Uber and Fuzzface across. Over to the red line, the battle. You have the Penguins trying to work their way past Squeaky, just nuking him out. Rustamar still alive. Tempest quiet in the southeast, but maybe trying a third party towards the southern fight. And then Liquid quite far out and maybe being gate-kept by TSM.
Nothing Michael can do, unfortunately, from that one. Rupture onto Bestalok as well. Individual person I want to be seeing going off during this competition. We've seen signs of life, especially from that group stage towards the Chariot Invitational. Hell's getting a man up in the last stand for the 1 versus 1. Phenomenal individual player, but was missing from the group stage. We'll see how this does progress onwards. 12 teams, 37 alive. Wildcats going for a bit of a risky rotate behind a team who's on the hillside. Miraku. The Liquid Boys just hiding behind a palm tree, hoping for dear life. Vad may have his number wrote when we come towards the grenade side of it. That's going to Fuzzface as well. That's an interesting one. That's across the road. Whether or not that gives Omicron something to play with and a bit more space to be able to run around. K-Mind, Mexi, they fall simultaneously, and that's Vad. That's a 2 versus 1 instantly. Jude goes up against Ira in a ball of smoke. That must be a big old pull-up when it comes to TSM and Liquid going head-to-head. Nades down, guns up. What else are we looking across? We're a bit mad here. There's good fights going off all over the place. Jeems is stolen. Mexi all of a sudden does come through and goes down, unfortunately. We're going to see Miraku and Vad finish him off. As Na'Vi is still holding the edge of this circle, hoping that the teams that are going to be sat inside the graveyard will be wandering towards them very shortly.
They've all been filtered together over by Graveyard. It's literally turned into one. It's no messing on that. You had TSM holding back Liquid, Tornado Energy then flexing in towards that and taking them down, so the pressure from the back. The Wildcats trying to sneak their way in without being spotted with Na'Vi keeping eyes on. Gustav did get some revenge against the old Omicron gang down on the south side, but this is the bigger fight. Can TSM make it forward, or are they locked here? So yes, they might be able to get 1 or 2 shots towards, you know, the distant teams, but there's a team waiting just in that defilade in front of them. Tornado Energy, Aliak is there. So again, some of these Tornado Energy players are very, very scary, but can they live up to what they did in the group stage? We're looking for that. We're looking for that peak performance, and this might be exactly what it looks like.
I see none of them now. They're all just running low meds, eventually. Example, answers back. Alia also falling within, excuse me, it's actually Fex and Vad falling to Alia. On the side with the M4 and the barrel. Plenty of damage done on the side of Miracle though. It'll be a miracle if they make it out of this one. Alia still over peek into the booth, look behind, but there is death from behind. She created comes in and unfortunately wipes them out. TSM goes down in 9th. Nabi tries to come around and make the best of a bad situation. You see some of the meds with the stim still not there. Tornado Energy falling slowly after TSM. Mutual destruction across both rosters. She created no chance whatsoever, lying in the open. Going to be rather unfortunate, but this does give Na'Vi a hell of a lot of room to play with. Not many frags in the bag, but still, coming out of the graveyard, it's completely empty. The same cannot be said, unfortunately, for the South, where we have 3 teams lurking. Rustam Mar being the low man band here, stuck between a rock and a hard place, to say the least. He has to take this fight against TMP because, unfortunately, behind him, he does have Tempest. 3 members up, excuse me, all 4 members up, actually, staring at his backside.
Just looking real nice on that hill, huh? Checking him out. Rustamar going to make the play. 2 players from the Penguins in front, but the cross could be deadly. It could be his downfall if maybe Na'Vi look down there. Unity, depending on the lines of sight that they get given, could be the case. Already you're going to be seeing the likes of Unity putting down the fire. That was quite expected. It was the forced hand. I don't know if any of these teams are going to make it off this hillside. Tempest would be lucky as well. Obviously, the Penguins getting caught off here. Final one falls. Okay, their only other remaining team was Tempest. Let's just jump on board and see if they can make it off this disastrous hillside.
Flip fallen, so I'm assuming we shot while moving against the blue. Wookie will follow up. Uber in the distance. Besto comes in, puts the nail in the coffin. Tempest down in 4th. Okay. Well, this gets a little bit more intriguing now. Unity's been a bit quiet here, just taking that plateau area with the old shacks in the middle. It is damn good cover. Also have a height advantage on the teams that want to be working their way up the hill. The first fight will probably unfold versus Na'Vi and FaZe. Whether or not Unity get involved and maybe stab Na'Vi in the back's a different question altogether. They might just sit back and say, okay, well, we'll let this happen first and then get involved when the dust has settled. 4 players up for FaZe, which is going to be beneficial. Quick tag, doesn't realize that Itzy is actually lingering on the off angle. Instant confirmation. Job done. This makes things a little bit more easier for FaZe Clan. Looking solid here. 6 frag in the bag as well with all 4 players up. All right. Provided Unity doesn't get involved here and maybe take out one of the FaZe players from the backside, this could be an early win. This could be the start of something. It's only Saturday, Lauren.
Look, we've all forgotten what day of the week it is, mate. This could be Sunday for all FaZe now. But the point is, the set has found HC. So for now, at least, it's been a little bit slowed down. But FaZe have been playing really nicely in this kind of 2-2 split until this point. Now they've obviously stacked up for these final moments. Smarter thing to do. Being hyper proactive, hyper mobile as well in the way they're picking their fights, staying these 2-man hit squads and then rotating to that next safe position, leaving the other 2 to secure the push from the blue up towards the new safe zone. Unity playing in from the south, they do have high ground. So keep in mind this kind of rolls from south in the kind of high spot towards the north being on the low ground. So again, so Na'Vi and FaZe kind of splitting the topography slightly. I'd say FaZe don't have the most favorable positions, just because it's low ground. It's pretty tricky to fight from, but they seem to be making it work. I like the way they're kind of setting this up as well. Kind of the 2-man play, kind of sticking together still, keeping this kind of main area, because they know that Na'Vi are mostly dedicated towards this eastern side, and for Unity, it's very open for them to go further on towards the west side. So you can just leave Gustav to try and keep a mind's eye on that. If he overpeaks and dies, then you are in big boy trouble. But until that point, it's a nice idea. But again, you want to see Uber and Fuzzface basically almost like a pendulum. Wherever you feel the pressure the most, they swing and support that area. Okay, it's Na'Vi. Right, let's get back towards 8C. Let's support him. Okay, Gustav's called it. Let's get over there already. 8C going to find Senya, Rich. This is looking like FaZe are really keeping them at gunpoint.
You'd expect so. When they're up against the wide, it's going to be problematic for them to move. While I agree with you that FaZe are in probably a bit of a rough situation that it is downhill, they have more of a safety net than what Unity do. I know it's a good plateau, and I know it's got a bit of cover, but once that circle updates and shrinks towards the middle, they're getting dragged out of it. Whether they like it or not, they have to be dragged out of it, and that is one open run. You've got about 2 rocks once you make an exit plan from there. With FaZe covering all angles, even the best exit plan is going to have its problems. Good upgrade for the Tau when it comes to the 3-3, especially at this stage of the game. That'll give him a bit more of a bite and more bark when he has to go up against FaZe Clan, because they are still getting close. They're being kept at bay now by Tab in the middle, but Itzy is starting. You can't see it just on the right-hand side of the screen. Thank you for going his POV. Itzy does have a very, very deeper angle onto a lot of these teams. He just can't overstep his boundary if he goes too far left or too exposed. Both Senya and Besto have the weight and get an easy frag. There's no way we're getting back on his feet, especially when it'll be 2nd or 3rd knock now. Circle is favourable to FaZe. It comes downwind, and now they control. The question is, which way do Unity sweep? They'll have to go one way. I'd expect them to go as a full team. The question is, with FaZe spreading out across this circle and splitting their resources, are they all ready to receive this? I think I've already spoke too soon. Uber spotted it. Ruzen's down. Now the slow down with the Reds.
And honestly, for FaZe, as much as they can be in a precarious position, their utility kit is phenomenal still. And this is what the game plan's probably been for a couple of teams here. Is can we take some of that away? Can we break a helmet? Can we get rid of a vest? Can we work down these teams? And the answer is a severe and a swift no. Gustav's going to deny Orange any opportunity for this. But while this happens, what's Na'Vi up to? Have they got a plan in mind while these engages are going on? Not really. Actually, tell a lie. They're pushing up towards Unity. Look at Senya. Look at Besto. Tab's being central. They're going to try and cut him off. Oh, it's an absolute assassination. They saw weakness in the victims, and Hiruzen's like, what am I meant to do? Screw this. I'm going out to the blue. That seems a kindness. We're down to 2 teams. Na'Vi spotting weakness. Great call from Senya. Let's exploit that. But FaZe hold all the cards here, Rich.
Okay. Shows how close we're going to be. He realized that his number's up and he can't escape that one, so sends it to the blue, denies a point, but it doesn't matter whatsoever. 10 kills. Game 1, when we look towards FaZe Clan, like, all right, this is what we want to see. You know, some of these teams, some of these big numbers. A 20-point game to kick open this competition is just phenomenal. I mean, the control that they had, the movement that they were working as a complete unit, big fan. And the frags to be able to go to boot as well. I think this is going to be the story of this competition, to be honest.
Yeah, show me more of that FaZe. I want to see more of that. That's a very big tick in the box of our FaZe on point. It's looking like maybe those pick'ems might have a little bit more of a red color to it. We'll find out, though. It's the first game. It's the first look. It could have gone differently. Na'Vi also played that well. Let's head back to the panel and the guys to give us some further information on what we just saw.
Thank you very much. FaZe up. They came out big, and I think Pansy said it best. In this quarantine world where none of us know what day it is, it's always FaZe Sunday as they come out with a massive opening blow to everyone else. And let's be honest, start with you, Toby. When that circle came out and we saw them on the wrong side of Death Valley, I thought that might be it for them, but the shifts just worked in their favor.
Yeah, I mean, Martin and I were both sitting kind of scratching our head going, what in the hell is FaZe Clan doing on the far west side of the map right now? And somehow, I mean, I'm very surprised by how Northern Lights weren't able to hold them, because it seemed like it was a very doable hold. Like you can see it right here in the replays. They had no idea. They simply had no clue that a team would be pushing in from that side. And I think, as you can see, they're probably as surprised that we were. So from that point on, I mean, FaZe had a lot of control, and they, to be fair, played it really well. They never overextended. We've seen FaZe before get a little greedy in some situations when they have too much space to work with, but they played it well. They played it cautious and got themselves a good win.
On the opposite side of that, Martin, you know, I thought this was Unity's game to take home. When that circle established itself and they had the compound and the high ground and everything else, I really thought this was going to be Unity's start.
Yeah, it could have been. It was a kind of a rough three-way fight, and FaZe Clan just had all the riches and all the advantages there. Honestly, like the positioning and the piece of the cake they took here in the last slice, like it's like sharing a pizza with your dad, like when you're young, right? He's just taking 75%, and you're gonna have 25, and you have to share the last piece with your sibling, you know. And it's just done like that. And FaZe Clan did the same. They had at least 50% of the circle from 7th and on, and they controlled the vast majority of it as well.
Tough he just did because he can relate. He can relate to that one.
Oh, so good. Oh, man. And that dad with 75% of the pizza. And then FaZe, not only do they win it, but they win it with an absolute dunking at the end of that match. It literally went from 2 teams to 1 team like that. Let's look at the match leaderboard. As you can see, Energy only coming up with 6 total points, put up some good kills. But the other side, I think, is going to be where we see some pretty impressive stuff. FaZe Clan with the 10 kills and 10 placement points. That's pretty big. Na'Vi picking up 3. Anything else catch you guys' eye here?
TSM and Liquid 0 placement points, but still in the top 8 with that. 6, 7 points for them. Very evened out. Obviously, FaZe Clan is going to take a lot with both the kill points and placement points, but very evened out already. And again, as we've been talking about before and in previous tournaments, you don't win tournaments in your winning games and your chicken dinners. You win them on your bad games and your mediocre games where you still get a lot of points. And this is what Na'Vi, Unity, and the other guys here in the top half of the leaderboard is showing.
I think this match statistic comparison shows us that FaZe definitely put in some serious work, Toby. Like, they, despite being close to their final spot since Circle 2, they had to fight a lot to get there.
Yeah, I mean, everyone was doing so, and that's why you see them separate themselves by 11 points to 2nd place, right? I mean, the kills were so widely spread between all the different teams. I think no one in the top 5 outside of FaZe Clans had more than 5 kills, because everyone had been farming one another all the way to the end. And when they then get FaZe in a position where Uber can go nuts with the Mini, because he has literally a half kilometer of space where no one can try and push towards, it just becomes a shooting gallery for him. You can see almost 1,000 damage in the very first game. I mean, 8C is up there with 500 as well. That's how you want to start a grand final, that's for sure.
I mean, Martin, to me, it kind of felt like FaZe's MVP in that game was Northern Lights' holds on the compound that FaZe took, right? Like, they kind of dropped the ball and let FaZe get into that compound, and from there, FaZe just was unstoppable once they owned that side of the map.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this compound is it's pretty rough to hold as well. You have to constantly have somebody looking at the hillside running down, and if you get it like jumped upon, like he was crossing the compound in the open, and he just got taken out. I actually didn't think about it. We talked about this during the game. Like vests are still staying. You have 20% of the durability, and that's actually a huge nerf to Uber. Uber is a damage farmer. Like he breaks vests in the thousands, and now I think that's also why we don't see him as often anymore. Like maybe not. I guess with ADR. He's still up there, but you just do so much more damage when the opponents you're shooting at don't have a vest. Now it's still less damage with the 20% reduction being the other way. So that's like an indirect nerf to Uber himself when you're using the mini.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, it sucks to get nerfed, Uba, but he's still ridiculously good. Let's talk for a second about TSM. Panzeem kind of brought up that storyline of them not qualifying where they would have liked. I mean, this is a team that when we watched them at GLL not long ago, we postulated this could be the next best team in the entire world. Well, I think, Toby, they got 8th coming in here through the qualifying stages. Is this a good first sign of life? 7 kills, even though they got no placement points?
Yeah, I mean, it's a decent game. Again, everybody pretty much except for FaZe Clan were struggling, literally just clawing for points in the end of it because they knew the team that is on the west side is going to win this game. It's just a matter of when we get kills, so we might as well try and see if we can get kills with it. You saw, the Unity player trying to throw an 8 before he committed suicide in the blue, right? Everyone was desperate for points in the end of it. And I think, for TSM, they've gone through a lot of changes. And also, I don't think we can take the group stages too much into account because it did sacrifice quite a few of their late Miramar points, knowing they had already qualified and kind of YOLOing against Unity to secure a spot that they now have. So those games, had they just dropped San Martin the entire group stage and try to kind of commit to play for as many points as they could, they would have been placed better than 8th place overall.
Martin,
Agreed.
This is 20 games for the grand final. This is actually 4 games less than the qualifier totals. I think, does that affect the mentality that some of these teams are going to be coming into this one with? I mean, 20 is not a lot when you talk about $200,000 on the line, or so it would seem to me.
The only thing that it would change, at least for me, if I was in position, that would just mean that you get to bet earlier because you have an hour more to look VODs, or it's still 5 games. There's a lot to analyze and it's a lot to take in. Obviously, there's difference from teams. Some teams they sit after the game, so your memory is fresh of the games, and some of the other guys they take it in the day after. Some don't talk about it at all. They discuss it like when they die and they get it over with, and you say this is what we need to improve on, and then they have a coach that will come in with notes. So I don't think it changes too much. 20 or 24, no. I would say anything between 18 and 24 games. Like we will definitely have the winner that is like the best at any given time here.
Makes sense. All right, well, guys, we are going to be back in just a little bit. We got to take a short break to get everything in order and show you a fun little video. But in 2 minutes, we'll be back with everything from codes to gameplay. So don't go anywhere. We'll see you soon. What do you think the longest bridge in the game is?
I'm curious.
There are no bridges in PUBG. I like that one the most.
There are no
There
bridges.
are
There
no-
are only
Deny.
death systems.
Deny.
There are only traps. That was fun. I really like those. I could not win the Dane question because I'm sitting here with two Danish gentlemen who knew that one intimately well. Guys, welcome back. I'm here with Avenger and Toby. My name's Toppy. We bring you guys all the action. We're getting set up for the second game of the day. The last one was fun. We saw FaZe come out with a win, and I'm going to be honest, Toby, I think everybody in the scene, if you're playing right now, you get nervous when FaZe starts day one with a win. I mean, traditionally, that sets up a very FaZe-forward tournament.
It does, and it's especially a win like that where they got to get as much space as they did, being able to really harvest as many kills in the end of things as they were. But I think also you have to look back and say it wasn't like it could have gone so many other ways than FaZe ended up winning that game. Circles were tough, and again, as we've talked about so many times before, it was 1 of 20, right? You gotta, I mean, yes, FaZe is now ahead by 11, but again, there's just so many inconsistencies these days with some of the top teams that I would not be surprised to see what we've seen so many times before. First place to 16th immediately after.
All right, let's do a real quick. You know what? I know what you guys want. I know what you're here for. I know what you're here for. Let's do it. Let's talk about pick'ems, guys. It is time to go ahead and get you that information. If you want to head over to the client right now, you can write this code down. Click on the esports tab, click the Pick'em Challenge, add event code, and redeem. Collect those esport points, or at least those coupons, so you can vote to win the esport points, because everybody wants the skin. So now is your chance to get the good stuff. Gentlemen, we're going in to our second Miramar match of the day. Final thought, Martin. What do you want to see on this one?
Well, I want to see early rotations. I feel like they were a bit sloppy right now. Like obviously, it's the first game, but I want to see them pulling out some early rotations, take some more space, because that's especially in the early times of competitions. That's where you get the most out of it.
Early rotations. Toby, last thought.
Aggression. You gotta go out and show that you're present. You don't want to get pushed around when it's a grand final. We're talking about whether you're an open qualifier team or your established team. You cannot let teams start and push you around, because they'll, like, if they do it today, they'll continue to do it tomorrow.
20 games, and it is a grand final. $200,000 in prizes on the line. Don't go out slow. This is the time to make a statement. Let's send it over to the two that will be making a lot of statements in this match. The casters for the game, none other than The Sims and Pansy.
You guys cheer me up to no end. Yeah, I mean, it's a stressful time for everyone, but you know what? It is good to have a nice distraction, even if it is for just a couple of games worth. And so far, I want to say, I really hope, just to send almost a message to the rest of the lobby, that FaZe come out and they blast today. I want to see teams operating at 100% from the word go. And this storyline is something that frustrates me, and I'm sure it does the audience too. And maybe I am alone in this, but tell me your thoughts at home as well. How many times have we seen, hero performances come out of teams in those final moments when it's do or die time? They're able to get these crazy 20-point games out of nowhere. They've been cruising on kind of lower end games just to qualify. I'm tired of that. I'm tired of this cruise control. I know it's tricky to do it. I'm not saying it's easy, but I want to see a team come out and play lights out in every single matchup they can. Now, that circle is going to make it tough for the vast majority of this lobby. So if someone who isn't currently in that circle walks away with a victory here, we have to pay credit, because they're going to have to work through a great deal. Now, the one bonus, Rich, I guess that eastern side is a little bit easier to rotate through. You're going to have a little bit more room to play back in, right? You get a little bit of room to rotate in. It's longer, but, Martin wanted early rotations. They're going to have to consider that pretty quickly if you're in the southeast.
You have to crack on, aren't you? That's for sure, especially with the lower playing path. Many of them opting to go down towards the south. You've got a fair amount of teams that are crushed together, and I say crushed because this is what's going to happen, unfortunately. When you look at it's not necessarily the north, the west. It's that embankment line, the actual playing path. Funnily enough, the road that runs all the way from Paraiso directly and diagonally to the west on Monte Nuevo, you have GF, Unity, Penguins, Redline. I mean, that's 4, 5, 6. So you got like 8 teams all along that main road. Now, there's a couple of things in my mind that are ringing alarm bells here. Is one, does anybody take advantage of the situation that wants to go frag out early? Is there anyone that's going to set up an entrapment and look for, okay, when we look at the circle, it literally skirts the edge of Alcantara, so we don't have that full ridgeline in the west-facing cliffs. Is anyone going to try and go for a bottleneck and think, okay, let's look at the playing path here. A lot of them now mark the playing paths. When you can do it, hold down Alt, you can actually put a line on it, and that'll stay for the entire map, so you can continuously think where a player's rotating from. You always have that in the back of your mind, where people should be going or could be going. So bottlenecks do become a reality. That might happen. For Alcantara kind of areas and, situated smack bang over Cobalt area, you wouldn't be... If you were a betting man, you wouldn't be putting odds on this in a Western Circle. So everybody, in theory, should be looking more towards the middle. It's whether or not you can get there in time, whether or not you can survive the rotations. Oh, that's a spicy shot. Won't be able to finish it. He gets the health off. The rest of them can kind of rotate through cleanly. But yeah, it could be quite squishy when everyone starts dive bombing towards the middle. It could be a very squishy circle. There's only a limited amount of areas this circle's going to be. It's not a big, wide open area and actually a large area to play off the back. Oh no, Hyruzen. He thought he could run it on the sides and he's ditched his vehicle. No. That's not good. That's not going to cut it. Now Orange is forced to pick the fight or get the vehicle and try and recuperate them. If they lose the tires on the back of it, that's 3 vehicles down.
You've got to say as well, as much as, we are mostly talking about the higher end of the scene here, who we expect to win, who are the big contenders, someone like the Penguins did finish in 8th spot. I mean, they beat the likes of TSM, Omicron, FaZe, ENCE, Na'Vi to positioning. It was a very valiant attempt, and these guys are one of the huge underdogs in this. So for me, they were a really fun team to watch. They were quite volatile, obviously finding it hard to be consistent, which is quite commonplace when you're looking at, newer teams. They have really good success, and then, high highs, low lows. That's a nice high point there for She Created. Lovely. So again, I want to highlight the teams who qualified in very unique positions, like we said about Tempest, Redline, Unity, the Wildcats. These sort of players and teams are definitely shaking things up. There are no weak links, I feel, these days in PUBG. I think by this point, we've moved away from that. Everyone's got a bit of danger to them. They may not be able to replicate the brilliance that we see from the high end, the consistency you can bank on, but they certainly pack a punch. Now, let's take a look at where the teams are heading towards in the I want to say earlier rotations. You still have a large pack outside of the circle, so let's kind of keep them out of our minds for a second. As we do see, obviously, Na'Vi, FaZe, the Wildcats, these were the teams already in there. Northern Lights, TE. They get the pick of the litter, the pick of the bunch. They can go wherever they like. Blaze and Liquid quite early in the way they've approached, heading in from the east, to be expected. And while they're quite close by, so there might be a little bit of a scuffle there, and you can see Unity trying to get a little bit of some revenge on the Penguins for making their route so tricky, but sort of for now managing to stay alive. So should be able to work their way in pretty comfy. I say comfy lightly, but more than at least Unity had on the other side of things. So certainly a way to go yet, but again, I would like to try and remember, because I've got the memory of a sieve sometimes, who is going to be fighting against the odds for good positioning here? Who's coming into this circle when obviously some teams had a big advantage on that, obviously starting in the northwest. So if someone else walks away with a win, maybe a hard shift towards the east or something like that could happen, then it's game back on. But yeah, Liquid slipping through, getting away from Blaze and working a little bit closer towards the likes of Na'Vi and some of the other teams who had that first position pick.
You've got to be careful of this southeast hard shift. If it comes through, I mean, as an IGL now, you could take a pen, stick it on Cobalt area, and just draw backwards C. Go past water treatment, through San Martin, hover over, just kind of come round the back of Monte Nuevo, and go into El Pozo. Anywhere in and around that area, for me, is like going to be a hot spot, somewhere where the circle's likely to pull towards, because you do have still that weird hook crater side edge terrain that it never goes towards, and that will dictate where things go. She created actually with the AWM, Green Machine in play. We'll see if you can find a member of FaZe Clan and put it to good use. But yeah, you have to now be very, very aware and have a secondary plan of what happens should it hard shift away from the northern edge. There's a very good chance it does. We don't have many areas but it can actually go towards. We won't have any factors play a dividends to drive the circle at this stage. It just goes wherever it likes and does whatever it wants. It's as simple as that. I like what Deep's doing on top of the houses. The rest of Northern Lights is trying to keep people at bay. This is a good position, not only to control, but it gives them the abilities to rotate off the back of this. It's a really good position. Kind of like a stairway area she created, actually. Doesn't put the AWM to good. Oh, never mind. Completely proving me wrong whatsoever. You might as well make sure that he is dead. If he wasn't before, he definitely is now. Fuzzface gets a face full. That's a big bullet for a big boy. He's gone. And yeah, okay, 0 to 0. Fizz top of the charts in the last one. All 4 players staying up, and instantly Fuzz is the first player to be leaving us in game number 2.
Well, we talk about the danger of those 2-2 splits. It paid dividends in the first game. I really like the way they used it late game, especially when they were in that western side, and they used kind of 2 of them to take a bit of map control and work back in. But to be able to implement that early on and being quite spread apart, keep in mind Uber, and I think it's maybe who's on the other side, because 80 I guess was with Fuzzface. Yeah. So thinking about Gustav and Uber, they're very disconnected from the other 2. They were kind of splitting that main northern road that runs through it. But it's risky when teams are on that land grab. There's a main area around those craters that people will gravitate to. So maybe the 2-2 a little bit misplaced in that potentially. Obviously, hindsight's a brilliant thing. We get to see it with full vision of the map. But for them, risk reward, is it worth the risk? And is it worth potentially losing out on a player? They're going to have to find that out later on. A southern shift, not towards the east though, keep in mind. This is towards Pozo way. Rich, where does this kind of lean towards in your mind? I mean, I look at FaZe compound, even though it is quite far off. The amount of times we see those southern circles come through from this, it feels quite likely almost.
Cut it in half. Pretty much where you see that tracer fire from the deep, just run a diagonal line that goes through FaZe Clan's position all the way down to Tempest and sit on the left-hand side of it. Anywhere now, Pozo, surrounding area, top side of Monte Nuevo, main road to the left of Pozo. Really good positions to win, and a lot of these teams should gravitate more towards the western side of the circle. It will be a good place to sit. The main road on the west coast, excuse me, the west side of the circle, the coastline. Certainly not the coast just yet, or
wow.
on the opposing face.
TSM, Penguins, Rich. That western side's going to be a massacre. Look how many teams are just instantly sending for this.
And that's only half of the lobby, Lauren. Everyone's going to be looking towards that because it should magnetize towards this position. In theory, you know, if we look at all games past said and done, there is only a very small chance that we kind of get skirting the edges between... there is potential that you get the edge or where Team Liquid are up above Crater Fields, but it's so small. Given this circle, it would take an exponential, like 2 hard shifts back to back to hit the northern edge, maybe even for the east. At the moment, generally everyone knows Pozo's looking solid. I mean, if we did get a northern shift, goddamn, that would be wacky, but for this one, for me, this should be all said and done moving towards the west.
The teams seem to agree with you, so, you know, we'll keep note of that. The teams always seem to have a good idea. Hardships can catch anyone out. Those shots. How do you make the barrel look that controllable? Yeah, where is it? Ibis is just missing that white bar that's meant to be his HP. It's just flashing away. But, I mean, this is the thing. Some of these players make this game look so easy. And, you know, I always take a break, and while I'm casting the game, I always find it hard to play, and I'm watching players like, I can do what someone like Kemba does. No, I can't. It's a really easy reminder. No, I cannot. My aim is hot garbage, and they are very, very talented. But thank you for the illusion sometimes that maybe, just maybe, I could land 1 out of those 10 shots. But danger afoot for FaZe. Got to be careful with that AWM in play. Do you know what the problem is, right? I'm going to be honest. I've been casting some other game that has, for some reason, not called it an AWP or anything else. They've changed it to just mess with me. It's really messed with me. It's very tricky to say those words. Now, words are already hard. So, excuse me while I call something maybe a vandal once or twice because, you know, can't call them real names. Looking at this, Team Liquid going to go right to the crater fields. That's a little unique positioning. I don't know if I recall that being a stronghold for Liquid, but maybe just feeling like this is the best place available to them right now. But it does mean that Na'Vi are on a surround, which is quite dangerous. Certainly a little bit of threat there whenever you have Na'Vi near you. Some big players, Northern Lights on the other side as well. So Liquid in a bit of a scary CIS sandwich over there. Probably wouldn't want that. You know, is there a famous CIS sandwich? I'm thinking of like borscht. I can't think of like other like Russian food. So if someone's out there who could see if there's a good Russian sandwich, we could name it. I'll take it. But what we do know is that Circle is favoring these positions. The Northern Lights, the Liquids, the FaZe, the Na'Vis, the Red Line. That's a nice little spot for them. But that Southern pack that sent it full in towards Pozo, they're still safe, but you got to feel it's going to move away from there.
I'll tell you what, that Western Road's looking more and more spicy the more this circle moves towards the north. Top side of Pozo will be a safety net for now, but again, once you leave that city, it becomes very, very open. You can see on the map, Gustav's actually just... he's directing people away from this roadside. He can't really take a fight as a lone ranger. If someone gets out and multiple teams just run at him, he's as good as dead. Been a lone soldier up there on his own. There's not a lot he can do. His job is just to try and funnel people away from this so the rest of FaZe can sit happy. There are some really good compounds on this main road. Bullets from a distance, though. In the form of Omicron, 2 players fall simultaneously on the side of Ents. That's good kills for them. Not so good if you tick soon. Now you got to face the entirety of the server on your own. A little bit unfortunate. Bucky also falling Unity. Again, this is all down from the south. Everyone transitioning now, moving with the circle. Unfortunately, GF are outside the blue toward the top side. They can't get in given FaZe Clan's position as well as Redline. For Gustav, just be aware he is still in that position. For me, I don't want him to get disconnected from the rest of the pack. That's going to leave FaZe Clan to go toe-to-toe with the Wildcats on the road unless he can regroup. This is quite important now to stay alive. If you can get back to them, fantastic. If not, being the Lone Ranger, dies on transition. Pixel with a quick beep or Tixu on him, just saying hellos. They do carry onwards. Party being on shore, coming out of the blue. They expect them to be heavily damaged. The rest of them are going towards the north. And at the moment, just trying to find a place to call home. Party Beetle goes down. Your favourite player, Lauren, has exited the lobby for now. Pixel pulling up and unfortunately getting beaten already from Miracle on the opposing side. Yeah, they have to share now. This is rather unfortunate because if Circle goes towards the north, both of these teams don't make it out of this situation alive.
Rich, 16 teams aren't sharing this area. Like, I wish we could bring up the map for you guys just to show you how these teams are currently lining up. This is 16 teams ain't sharing this. Now, when I say that, it's because this kind of, you know, jostling that goes on. The peacocking will probably actually cost some teams their players. We're down to 56, so of course there has been casualties. Now, Redline are safe and actually have a really good spot as being kind of gatekeepers of the north if anyone tries to slot into that. So the Penguins have to be additionally careful here. But Pozo is waiting to explode. It's a keg of just explosives. You know, if someone's got a little bit of a match, a little too close to that fire, it's all going to kick off. Omicron's coming in, Unity's coming in, and they ain't going to leave easy. I mean, everyone can see it if they try to. Then you have that belt of teams just below Crater Fields, and then you have the belt above it. And poor old Ents looking like the first to maybe receive the punishment off the back of this Tixu's gone down, and Diggory finding a bit of solace in the only shack that's around. And there goes Game Frame. It will be Na'Vi to claim a great deal of those points and a great deal of those kills. And, well, I'm looking to see if Ents can survive this. Diggory's position is noted. Nice work from Hellscream. Good nade towards Marv. And the follow-up push. Scooby's going to try and capitalize on this and get some good ground gained. Michael, a little isolated, feeling a little blue. But luckily, 8C, from miles away, not that far, but far enough, does land the shot and does at least quell that building threat. It was about to maybe break down the red line. Now you can see Michael having a like little look. It's like, wait, that was the Penguins pushing? Oh, Michael, you gonna go for the double or what's the plan? Michael, Scooby's right there, bud. Oh, has he made a middle with this? Don't risk this. Don't make a mistake. Thank you, Michael. There we go. Okay. All praise, Michael. It's okay. I'll never doubt you again. You're fantastic at this game. But there was a second where we were about to win it. Only good on the pull-up, though. In danger to know the barrel just absolutely bails them out. That just feels like the whole point of this gun. It can bail you out of some ridiculous pull-ups, and it delivers that shot towards Orange. She's probably very frustrated with that. Redline survived with 3. The Penguins have leapfrogged ahead, though, in a more, you know, I guess a little bit more of a superior position. However, with lesser numbers.
By Michael doing that, TNP, the Penguins have just had all their attention diverted towards him. This allows his teammates to push up on the left-hand side and do the damage from behind. He can keep using these first aid kits, and all he needs to be is a point to stare at, to be a distraction. That's it. They've got a third one as well. Zorf goes down, and Bogarty says, no, we got to run away from this. Michael, with the help of his teammates, this is such a fantastic job. On the edges of the blue with nowhere else to go, Redline have somehow managed to remove a team from outside of the blue and make it in. They will only get the edge, but hell, it's better than nothing, and there's so much room to play with. We hop on board with Tempest, with Wookie Bookie down, 3 players still standing. Omicron out in the distance. The nades will rain down from above. And speaking from above, Tommel's here as well. Vasco goes down to the side of the M4. No AKM in hand, but I'd see gets involved from a distance. Base Clan here as well. You got to be careful. You can see all of this from the building that they're holding across the road. Clib will solidify the deal onto Vasco. More smoke down for Omicron, and unfortunately, they are just being dismantled player by player. They drop T-Bone, third one. Jempty, the final stand for him. Will he hit the res? He probably will because Tommel is damaged, but one good nade into that smoke. One solid bit of lethal utility. And Oma can go crashing out in 14th. No helmet on the side of T-Bone. Sending it straight in there. Bullets are just raining back, but there's no fear. He's baiting him out, not a problem. Tommel says hello, and he gets the final one. This would be phenomenal to remove Omicron when they'll be doing so damn well. Get him out of this position. It just gives you a good chunk of land to hold. The same scenario as what Redline have done. Creeping slowly, surely. Underhand nade. It's cooked. The pin's pulled. In she goes. And he gets the job onto one player. Jempty, the last stand, hits the deck, but Clib's got to follow up as well. Might just be a little bit too far, that one being laid down. You won't take as much damage. But with two players just staring towards it, really, once this smoke dissipates, where do you go from there?
Full utility use, but Tempest do still stand, but the problem is, can they stay alive? There's probably not many options to transition away from the position they're in. They might lose their lives, even though they did take a team with them. Circle goes to the east. Blaze and Northern Lights really locked into a bit of a strong battle over there for a very big bit of land. Towards the south, however, TSM being a little bit quiet, but doing well for themselves, with potentially lagged out there. So hopefully they can sort themselves out. It didn't look good. They were just kind of walking into a wall. So couldn't really escape. Tornado Energy were in front regardless, and TSM doing the same thing, both trying to hold the edge of the town of Pozo and catch anyone leaving. Now the question becomes, can FaZe, Redline, the remainder of Tempest, which is Clib, find place in the new circle? It's not going to be comfortable for any of them. And the other question on my mind is, can Northern Lights punish Blaze here, or Blaze not really up for the fight just yet?
Wildcats are going to have a job on their hands holding that hangar that's going to be open. It's in a very pivotal position for anyone who's adjusting from the west side of the circle. Did see she created still continuing damage with the AWM. He stole, I think it was Tommel on the kill feed at one point. Deep, lingering, lurking. She created again with the AWM. As soon as I say it, it's as if he's listening. Right, see, he gets a bullet to the face. So FaZe still feeling the full pain of that gun. Rather unfortunately. Clib, bit of a job on his own over here on his POV. Three players of Unity just staring down upon him. Flashbangs are up. Hands are in the air and he hits the deck. Quizzy onto Miraku as well. Blaze, Northern Lights, TSM, Tornado Energy. Na'Vi a little bit quiet and cautious in the upper echelons of this circle. Flashbang's back as well. That's a decent one. Should put Danamon off the scent for now as Hyruzen holds, but you would not expect Clib really to be able to do too much here. If Unity don't get him, potentially into the Northern Lights do. Through the smokes, though, there is a molly. If someone gets caught by that, that'll be an opener. Playing down on the floor. Managed to dink one, but unfortunately, Arrow Limited in 12th position. She created now. The man with a plan, who's been doing big things with the green gun. You have stood the test of time, but can you go any further? FaZe kind of had enough of this one. They've already lost one player to it. And already a second knock. This would be huge if he does tag him. Which he doesn't get the knock. That's really what he was looking for, and now they can collapse from multiple angles.
Yeah, but I like what Gustav's doing, though. He's keeping the pressure on him. He's not allowing him to get his beautiful flash from HC. Fully blind, a little blind himself, but there's the trade coming in. Gustav with a nice crossfire and an off angle. Individually and systematically taking down the team, but now look who's encroaching. They can see Water in the Blood, Unity on the way, and Redline on the way. Both sides now going to have trouble, and it's like, who walks out cleanly from this? Probably no one. Burning alive, she created too many threats on too many fronts. Another kill would have been a miracle, but now there's two other teams, potentially three with TSM, all heading this way. Redline the safest in the northeast for now, but the middle ground, you've got to look at Unity and FaZe. They're about to get pinched in this.
And they got to be quick as well. There's some chests, vests, and helmets that are going to be missing from that armory, that arsenal. Find the body box and get what you can. It was a level 3. If it wasn't smashed in the face, then I should be able to pick that up. And again, that comes off the back of the AWM. Hit him in early on. It cracked the helmet instantly. Set's just waiting for now. Vard will fall. This is all fanned out along the southwest edge of the circle. Ara needs to be careful that Uber just doesn't have a line of sight. That's all TSM, to be honest, to be on top of one of those. And there it is. It's actually Gustav to follow up as well. So Uber gets attacked, Gustav joins him. Trying to run away from it and going a bit too overzealous, in my opinion, TSM. Outside the comfort zone, been able to expose themselves. FaZe, though, with so many teams just crushing in, left and right, you've got to pick your battles, pick your fight. We have to go back on with FaZe Clan because QBE is actually lurking behind them. As I say that, Uber does fall down in the kill feed, rather unfortunately. Michael does get traded back, though. Michael Build himself, unfortunately, does go down with an in time that is cooked and primed. I can see on the floor. So they get to be good here because they do have two other teams. Navi's joining in the battle as well, and Unity's still here.
Big pull up from Na'Vi. Besto and Senya have turned up to this one. This could be a big cleanup. FaZe go down, losing out on HC last. It will be at least currently held between Ibis being there, Hiruzen being there, but this could be a cleanup. Let's see if Na'Vi can walk through this and can they do it cleanly themselves. You've got Senya holding the hillside, keeping eyes across everything, trying to watch for anyone trying to escape from this. And no one else can really fall towards this. TSM disconnected. They went, nah, this ain't it. This ain't the fight we need. It's too sloppy, too messy, too risky. Besto up for the fight though. Fully geared up, looking pretty. 3 vest, 2 helm. Does he know where the player is? Close left corner. Do they clear it? Oh, Ibis. That's a barrel. That's going to be deadly. That's one. Insta-flush goes for it. Does get down Besto, but the trade comes in. But Na'Vi lose one of the big players from their squad.
It's usually snakes in the grass you want to be watching out for, but at the moment it's the little grasshoppers on top of the box. Don't know where I was going with that analogy, but it works regardless. Flashbangs out. Check the... Oh! It worked! The flash hit him! Ah! I love it. It's great to see utility being used, just, you know, to its full effect, something like that. Flashbang and actually check a corridor properly.
You should play Counter-Strike. You might really enjoy it. If that gets you, if that, you know, ticks the boxes. Man, that game's got loads of flashbangs. Let's look at what we have left. So new circle about to hit, and we can see who's in a good spot. Okay, it's going west. My lord, look at this. The eastern side is going to be brutal. So it's a hillside that rolls down. You've got the compound south, which is going to be almost impossible to transition away from. So the best bet would be north. But look who's waiting. Jeems, K-Mind, Ibby. They could potentially lock in 2 teams here. Northern Lights. How do they approach this? How do they leave this hillside? Not only do you have Blaze, the mountain goats, tucked into this hillside, but then, of course, you have these boys just on the back lines.
This all comes off the back of them taking the creative field. Working their way out slowly but surely. I like it because it was a preemptive play initially. They didn't just go dive bombing outside of the creative fields where you saw Northern Lights holding on. From the side though, not watching your angles, unfortunately. Lazar smashed in the side of the head from the scap. I'll look down towards Rip if he hears the footsteps as well. Now they're just kind of sweeping and clearing. Fex does exactly the same, but it's going to be onto Alia, unfortunately, this time round. Lazar does get finished off. TSM working against it here in the fact that they've got a very uphill struggle. That they will be exposed when people come down from the mountain, but the positive side is that this mountain will be pulled out from the circle, so they don't have to deal with it for too long. I'm hoping Deep and Perfectus work together here. 2 versus 1, they shouldn't be losing this. Go for the overpeak, there you go. Bait one out, other one trades in, job done. Quizzy. Are you going to be the dream breaker here? Have you been listening to all this going on? The rest of Tornado Energy, and you slowly curve round and just smash them when they don't expect it? I would say that's exactly what was going to happen, but it might not be. With Melman falling as well, they've exposed themselves. They've shown their position. Ira will solidify that one. Meanwhile, Na'Vi are just getting set up and ready to go because they've got Team Liquid directly in front of them. Quizzy, that is disgusting. Scopes in and drops in while he's actually mid-air. Deep, you have got a very damaged player before you don't mess this one up. One, not the second though. The follow-up and again by TSM's position being downhill and all these players moving and rolling off the hillsides. They're all just open to attack by all the teams waiting.
Sure, I actually really liked the fact that TSM disconnected from that fight out in towards the west side. And now they've got a really good set of keeping 4 players standing, be able to kind of control the southern approach. Na'Vi and Liquid look likely to clash here, because Na'Vi are obviously very tempted, I'm sure, to keep Liquid locked into that little bit of a dip. Now, that is in the new circle, so it's going to be hard to force them out of that. Na'Vi probably control a good portion of the circle anyway. Now, TSM could be a threat. I'd like to see what terrain they're working with. My word, it's open, isn't it? A couple of rocks here and there, some dead trees. It ain't much to write home about. So I wonder how they want to do this. We've got some very big teams in these final circles. Na'Vi doing well to, again, ensure their positioning, but they did start in this sort of the circle. There's no taking it away. Liquid did well coming in early. Obviously, TSM, a long way to go. An example, the last one alive for Tornado Energy. 3 kills for the team, but locked in up here. TSM 4 kills, not bad as well. I wonder how many Na'Vi's got. They did lose out on Besto, so not sure. But for Iroh, gonna keep eyes trained on that smoke. Example's gone down. Right, we are down to 3 teams. 3 big teams. Where is this gonna head? So Liquid, how do you get out of this little bit of a ditch you're in? I don't know how they leave that.
I really hope we start. Oh, well, I said we start. We finally see a sniper rifle do what a sniper rifle should. Late game, removing some helmets and take away utility, or just getting that one pick, which gives you the time and the ambition to be able to run the gauntlet. Teams also has a level 3 helmet, which is going to allow him to overpeak some of these and maybe just do something. But the problem for Team Liquid is they are trapped. We called it. That ditch could be soon become their grave. And with Jimbo going down, it's only a matter of time. If TSM have got any nades, maybe they can just try and jump out. Oh, no, that's way too long, actually. Didn't realize they were so far away because of the curvature of the hillside that they're working with. You can't jump over, otherwise you're then spotted by Na'Vi and just open to gunfire from
Come on, Liquid.
below.
Show me a plan, Rich. I want to see them be proactive. They used to be such a good team at doing that. Even in really bad situations, they came up with the best of the bad situation, right? They always had a plan in mind. But again, you're playing against someone like Na'Vi, who's always going to make that tricky to do. Same with TSM. These aren't easy teams to be able to make that sort of happen against. But again, where did TSM take this? This all looks a bit crazy. They're all kind of grouping together in the south. Iroh's going to be careful not dip in the blue, but he's all right. Now, again, no one's really making moves on each other. They're looking like, okay, someone else take this fight. Let us be the team to third party, and no one's falling for it. You really see so much experience in a final circle. This is a really big moment. Liquid probably have the worst position, I personally would say, but with Na'Vi falling away, okay, there's a bit more chance. But look at the utility that Na'Vi are rolling through. They don't have much left. Liquid looking at Iroh, one spams in, but it's not an immediate threat just yet to TSM. This is a threat towards Na'Vi. Oh, and Liquid are trying to make the charge. They're doing everything they can, but this could be all kept apart. And now Na'Vi get fed the kills. They get fed the players. And this was all because TSM did so much damage early on.
Yeah, they've been crushed from both sides. Unfortunately, trying to make an open run like that. There was a good idea there with the smoke, but now it comes down to Ibby. What can you do to Na'Vi? Do you make this an easier win for TSM? There is potential. He can sit there, just monitor the scenario. The hammer comes down from Ira. They're bleeding at the wayside. This should be an easy job done. Somehow, Ibby stays alive. So Team Liquid, they outdo Na'Vi, but they will not outdo TSM. That is a win with 7 kills in the bag. A 17-point game is good. We said we wanted to not only just see with something like this at this state of competition, we're not just looking for wins. We need 5, 6, multiple kills. If you can get into double digits, great. But if you can get above that 7 kill mark every single time, it's really good points that are just going to add up over time, slowly but surely. We do have for this grand finals. Now, you've seen before in the group stages, we're on 6 games per day. Now we're not. We're down to 5. This is 2 weekends, a 20.
Educated guesses, just like educated casters. Let's go to the 2 brains behind the game. None other than The Sims and Panze.
He's lost his mind. It's gone. But no, I you know what? Shout out to Iroh, my guy. But no, look. Before everyone jumps on it and gives him grief about that, I'm gonna tell you a quick little story, because they're dropping. We'll get to the game. Don't worry. There was a small Danish team in another game that won a lot of tournaments. They had someone who you'd say is very divisive, someone who's, I can't really make a pun out of the rest of their names, maybe magic up his sleeve every now and then. There was also someone called Dupree, and we spent most of our time playing PUBG together while they were doing like an incredible tournament run. So I mean, it's good to see people enjoying games. You play with your buddies, you get that synergy, you get that chemistry, you're enjoying playing again. You come off the back of a bit of a poor performance, you get that motivation back. You get that, okay, I'm actually enjoying playing with my buddies. There's something to be said about, enjoying playing with the people around you. It is a big difference. It doesn't have to be the case, but it's a big difference. Rich, what's going on in Georgia Pole?
Georgia Paul's looking rather hot and spicy, to be honest with you, as if everyone said the same idea. It's like, you know what, boys, let's just make this one an interesting game to cast and an interesting game to watch as well. When you got 1, 2, 3, 4, potentially 5, if we see Northern Lights come down from Zaki get involved in this one, it is absolute chaos. It's going to be good to watch this rotation, especially on the western side, given where the circle is, just kind of homing just below Stalba, which we've seen a few of these before. And if you've been watching the group stages, you know exactly above Yasnaya where it's going to be good to set up shop. That western side is going to be a bloodbath come time to move, especially on the rotate. Depends if Game Frame actually want to set up somewhere different. If GF just move towards that western embankment and try and bottleneck a lot of these teams that want to come across, it could be good for them. Usual spots and usual suspects when we look towards Team Liquid in Pachinki, nice and quiet. They do have to be careful when we go on the rotate here, given the fact that ENCE and TSM, they've got a bit of a blockade that goes up running from Roshawk through the school area and down through apartments. You go further afield towards the outskirts and you'll start to see Nuclear Penguins, Blaze, kind of lurking. So provided that Liquid are safe and provided they are good at scouting, I want to say is a better word, advance forward, they shouldn't lose anybody. For Omicron, this will be a really good circle. Looting in Yasnaya gives them a hop, skip, and a jump up to the central part of the circle. And again, what we've been seeing these last few times, Lauren towards just below Stalba, pretty much anywhere between more edging on the eastern factor, but away from the coastline. Between Stalba and Yasnaya, you have those flat top areas that kind of plateau out with the small cabins and the little shacks. They're going to be the prime location. That's the good cut of beef that you want to be taking control of now.
Yeah. Na'Vi. Maybe getting those vehicles away from everyone else being a high priority here, making their rotations trickier. Whew, that rotation route is gonna be rough. I mean, we're gonna see a mass migration from the west to the east pretty soon. I'm quite excited for it. I want to see how this goes. You don't often see this many teams around Georgia Paul. We haven't really discussed too much in regards to drop spots because, of course, we're coming in with not a blank slate. I wouldn't go as far as to say that. But people can change drops. We can see them adjusting. Obviously, going off the back of just the group stage, that was a very different lobby. A lot of teams, a lot of, I don't say random elements, but unpredictable elements for sure. So that's going to be one factor that's going to change here is do they go for similar drops? Has that changed? We'll keep our eyes on it. I doubt Georgia Paul's going to be this busy every single time, but also the playing path did allow for this sort of play to come in, but some early rotations coming out sub 4 minutes here.
Omicron doing exactly what we anticipated them to do, being the first one that do rotate and the first one towards the central of the circle. Or what is currently the center of the circle, should I say. Probably 2 back in Yasnaya and put Page and Jempty forward. Zorf's gone a little bit early from Lepovka. He'll scout that out and find a good entry point for the rest of his teammate. Follow through. Rustamar's like, don't worry, boys. I've been in the army. I know what it's like to kind of be down in the dirt, get away from it all, hide away underneath the bridge in the water. Gotta do what you gotta do out here. It's rough, man. Gives ENCE the information that TSM is lurking in the distance and rotating again. We spoke about the start of the game with these two looting so close together. With TSM, there's also opportunities to kind of spread your wings a bit further and put more pressure onto ENCE. And we've said this becomes a bit more of a factor as we go out through this competition. If you know they're struggling, if you know they're weak and playing a bit more passive and they're far down that tables, there is opportunities for TSM to get a bit aggro on them, for them to squeeze that area and say, no, this is our area. You want to move away from this one and give up Roshawk. We want you out of here and gone. Everyone else, it's a clean rotate for now. Na'Vi do hang back in Georgia Paul, same goes with Redline. Northern Lights have gone for an extremely wide rotate to the north and will skirt the edge of Severny. Make note of Game Frame, by the way. A late rotate from them when they were already on that northern edge of the circle. I'm intrigued to see how far they go. They were the closest bar, you could say, Omicron. For me, I'm thinking if they'd have gone to Severny or somewhere else and moved a little bit quicker, they'd have been ahead of the game here. So we'll see if they do lose anybody. If they do, it's a questionable one. Make note as well, IW and WP. That rotate, they are very close together. I'm seeing She Created and Levent already out of the vehicles and maybe waiting for them. Ixties will scout the main compound. Levent says, you know what, you can have it if you really must. I'm on my own. Take it, boys. Go, go, go. I don't want nothing to do with this. No one's really going to go for that. It's outside the circle. You will carry on, but it's good to keep a track of your enemies and know where they're going to be, especially on the rotate. Keep on. Bit of an overzealous shot, but you know, whatever works, even if it just won't squeaky away, it gets the job done. It seems that we'll be late to this one, Na'Vi, but who cares? It's Na'Vi. They play late game. They play Edge. Redline have set off from North Georgia. They'll make it up to